wow, 5 years has just gone by like that, hasn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that we were talking a 5 year.
5 years? That's practically her whole life.
They finished it. They stuck with it. They carried out the dream.
The value of a land is not its appraisal value. It's the history of the land that's the value of the land. What all's transpired here and what you're reminded of here. And you know, you can go through and trash it or you can keep it and save it. I have 2 daughters. They're not going to farm. So what good is the land to them other than upkeep and taxes? And I was trying to come up with a way to make it pay for itself so it wouldn't be a burden on them.
And that's when the idea of the barn kind of started. And it was first so exciting, and we started talking about, you know, the people we could meet and the families, and being a part of such a joyful time in people's lives, and the cake and the decorations, and seeing how people could use a space but make it their own. But I don't think it was long after that that fear kind of set in and was like, well, what would this really look like? And, you know, what a step of faith it's going to be to start the project and to even just build the barn, not knowing if people would feel the same way that we felt.
I know a very long time ago, there was these pioneers who were pretty sure called the McGranahans, and there's this house back there, and it's really, really old, and they had a lot of cattle, and they kind of lived, this was kind of their second home.
This barn has been in Mari's family for 6 generations, built originally in the 1800s by her great-great-great-grandfather, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to be a part of the reconstruction process and be an owner now.
I was up here a lot as a little kid because this is where they worked the cattle. There was a big lot here behind it, and we always hauled our hay in here. I read an article on Sarah McGranahan, James's wife, because he'd come out here quite a few years earlier with Custer and Sheraton on the Indian campaigns, and every time a cattle drive would come through, they'd throw a big dance, and she'd make sure every cowboy got a dance. And that's probably where they met.
And then we got married and built here on the land, and of course Melissa and Mari used all this land as their playground, and they had horses and they played Little House on the Prairie and all their friends, and I mean all the way up through high school. Late high school, early college, we started traveling a little bit more. And one of our trips, we ended up swinging by the Biltmore in Asheville, North Carolina. And that, of course, is the Vanderbilt home, and we just fell in love with the ideas of preserving a home. And after Mari graduated from school, we decided, you know, we would approach Robert's mom about maybe rebuilding the barn. And of course she was thrilled with the idea because she instilled all that in Robert anyway. And so she said absolutely. And so the day that we signed the loan papers, we were so excited, and so we swung by the wine store and we found this bottle, the Biltmore, and I wrote on it, "If your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough." And what's the date on it? October 16th, 2012. Of course, Robert had different ideas than what Melissa and Mari had in mind. You know, Robert really thought that he would build a helicopter or a tractor in here. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I was gonna buy a kit and build a helicopter. I'm so,
And I think he was pacifying me and the girls, saying, "Sure, y'all can build a barn."
I didn't think there'd be much demand for it. I thought, well, if it'll rent once or twice a year, that'll help with the payments and, you know, be nice. And those girls have done such a great job. And now it's the world's largest she shed.
Mari and I started dating at the end of September of 2012, and they officially started construction on the barn in October. It kind of was built around the same time as our relationship, and so watching it grow at the same time, watching us grow and looking back on that now is a really neat thing.
We have photos of the McGranahans' original house from, you know, way back, and their original barn. And the original barn fell in the early 1990s. So some of the photos we have are like the last photos of it actually standing. We did want to keep our history alive, and so we were saying and wanting to rebuild history, making it look, you know, as similar to the original barn as we could, and keeping it in the exact location as the original barn.
But that's what all the rocks are around here, the rock wall over at the side and the rocks around there. Those are the foundation stones that were under the original barn. And that's how we know we got the same dimensions. I mean, I could remember the shape of it, but to get numbers, we had to measure off the footings.
I remember seeing the barn and driving by, it's someone telling me you need to go out and see that. I thought it was beautiful, and it was exactly what I had been looking for to do a styled shoot, a location for a styled shoot. From the beginning, Mari was hospitable, amazing, hardworking. I knew when I met her this was going to work and it was going to be super successful, not just because it was beautiful, but because I knew that she had what it took. That was when we were doing the styled shoot that I heard the story about when it was being built and Mari's dad and everything that had happened. And gosh, it just made this place mean so much more to know that they finished it, they stuck with it, they carried out the dream. How miraculous the story is that her dad was going to walk her down the aisle.
My sister was pregnant with Piper, and she was going to be induced the next day, and so she lives in Texas, and we were all getting ready in our own ways. So my mom, who normally gets home at 5, had stopped to get a baby gift, and I normally come out here, decided not to come out here that day and stayed downtown. And maybe you can help get going.
It was in March of 2013 that Robert was up here by himself one day working and had an accident or had fallen. We don't really know what had happened, but Aimee took a little bit longer that day to come home and had found Robert unconscious and had called me. She couldn't get a hold of Mari, asked if I would pick her up and meet her at the hospital, and so and immediately took Aimee and Mari back and told them he's got massive hematoma and hemorrhaging, and if they didn't do an emergency craniotomy that he would not survive, and even if they did do the surgery, there was still a 50-50 chance that he would live through the surgery. And then they even told us if he does survive, the quality of life would probably not be great for him or for the rest of us.
You know, surgery took place, and then they immediately moved him into ICU. And as soon as they said we could go back there, my mom and I went back together, and it was a long walk. Yeah, it was at the very end of the hallway, and we walked in, and he was just, you know, hooked up to everything and just looked different and bandaged, and we're just grateful he made it through the surgery and just immediately started praying. And just, I knew after seeing him there that I just wasn't gonna leave him. And no matter what the outcome was, I was gonna do everything I could to be there for him.
Eventually, he was showing signs that he was there by maybe, you know, responding to ask him to wiggle his toes or to squeeze your hand. Just slowly through the recovery process, they were able to move him into different rooms, and finally through physical therapy, where he learned to walk and talk again. They finally released him and brought him home, and during that time between March and when they had released him, and all of the construction on the barn had completely stopped. So it was left in the exact state that it was in when he had his accident.
It changed how I felt for a little bit, and I was, you know, angry at myself for not being there, and just angry at what if we wouldn't have. You know, was this a mistake? And just all the doubt and the sadness and all that came back. And I remember coming up here with my mom after the accident while he was still in the hospital, and we sat up here and we talked about that, and that's not what he would want, no matter the outcome, because we still didn't know.
I remember one day in the ICU, I was there with Robert by himself, and I just prayed, and I said, God, like, perform a miracle. And I told Robert, I said, you better walk your daughter down the aisle. I don't know if it's going to be me. It'll be somebody.
And he did.
Yeah.
When he came home, we decided that he'd want us to finish the barn.
At this point, someone had to kind of carry the torch. And so Mari became the general contractor while also rehabilitating her father day in and day out. So she was up here working with contractors, getting siding done, electrical, all of those things.
Aimee and Mari literally built this. Mari was up here every day running a tractor, picking up extra pieces of wood and straightening it up so that the crews that did come up wouldn't be stumbling over stuff. Just totally, completely immersed in it.
And slowly but surely, not only were Mari and I growing as a couple, but to watch the growth of the barn and the rehabilitation of Robert kind of went hand in hand. And so it was a lot of fun to see some of the small things where he would walk up the stairs here when he would come up and visit just to check in on things, and how much of a feat that was that he could do that. While at the same time going, hey, your daughter has done all of this, you know?
For Antium's wedding, I was 5 and Piper was 2, and Antium had her wedding here with Uncle Steve.
the thoughts and the fears that they must have had. The thoughts and the fears that they must have had at one time. And then to see him around the corner, you know, holding her and bringing her down the aisle. I knew beforehand that I would cry at that moment. But I just thought, I mean, how blessed are we to get to witness a miracle like this?
McGranahan Barn couples are people that love. And that may sound silly, but it's, whether it's the love of history and the country and tradition, or it's the love of each other, there's just something about when fiancés walk in together and they fall in love with the space. You just see it instantly, and it's like, this is where I want to get married. And that's just something that is so special. And I don't know if it's like that in other places, but there's just something about a certain couple that walks in and they just get this look and they're like, this is it.
I bet it means a lot to them because it's their big special day. And Aunt Tim and everybody tries their best to make it the best day possible.
She's just the best. I just love Mari. She made everything so smooth. We had a relatively short engagement, but she just kind of assured us that that was okay and that was normal, and that we could do this on a short timeline. And we were just thankful that the barn was open and that we had a beautiful Saturday in December. So all throughout planning, she was so good at communicating, like so good at just talking about expectations and what they would provide and what other things vendors could bring in. And then on the day of, she was just, I feel like she was just that person that you would see here and there, but she was made the whole day go so smoothly, just made it all go perfect.
I actually contacted Mari before we were officially engaged and found out that they only had 2 dates left in October, and that's when I wanted to get married. So I told him he better hurry up.
Hurry up.
We got to see the barn and meet Mari and Steve, and we just, we walked in and just fell in love immediately. So they were just as excited for us. It wasn't about booking a wedding, and that made the difference for me.
I just liked the authentic feel and authenticity of the whole place. I mean, I had to cross the cattle guard to get in here, and I thought that was neat, you know? Felt really cool from the start, you know, and I remember telling her that night, I was like, man, those people were really, really nice. You know, I'm really excited about this. I'm glad that we booked that place just because it felt, yeah, just like warm, and we felt really good about it right from the start.
You know, there are certain places where you go, venues, that kind of feel like home. Like they're places that you have an emotional connection to. You know that you can go there and it's going to be a great night and it's going to be a great event because everybody there is working for the good. The people, the place, and just knowing that everybody's bringing their A game. Everybody that's there that night is going to be bringing their A game. And there's a feeling of comfort that comes with that.
So we have a lot of fun memories from the very, very beginning, even before we had all of our permits and were able to open, coming up here and celebrating and just really stopping and enjoying every aspect of what this process and journey has been and means to us and will continue to mean to us.
Yeah.
What this place has meant to us even since then. You know, I got to work here going through nursing school, and so that was amazing. And you know, we've thrown other parties here. I mean, we had your 30th, we had my mom's 50th. Coming up, we're gonna have my graduation party here, and so this has just turned into, this isn't just a venue that we, you know, get to book and, you know, have parties or anything like that. This is
Where we celebrate and make memories now.
Yeah, I mean, this is our place now, and I think, I can't say our place now, but they have made us feel like it is.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like I'm part of the family at this point, you know?
Being in Oklahoma and not being from here but living here now, it's just kind of a part of me and my husband's story and how we got married and have lived here and come back to visit and just kind of seen this place grow. And I just really think it's magical. It's just a beautiful, amazing place with so many sweet memories for us. Gosh, now I'm gonna cry.
I feel like it's the barn that's built me. I've grown so much as a person. I've grown in my faith. You know, the couples that we've got to meet, to be a part of their day, and now even to see them have babies and families, or, you know, to come back out and still have the space and the property mean something to them where they want to do family photos. We couldn't, you know, what more could you ask for?
I just think it's so important that we never, ever, ever lose sight of, you know, it's not always the bottom line. It's just those moments and stopping to say, wow, you know, look how far we've come as a family. Look how far, you know, the barn. To me, that's what it's all about. I mean, of course, it's nice to provide a living for the children and for, you know, all the potentials there, but it just goes so much more beyond, you know, how many events do you have, or what this or what that, or, you know, that sort of thing. It's more about
bringing people together and having a good time.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Happy people.
Congratulations, Mari. I can't believe it's been 5 years. I'm so incredibly proud of all the hard work you've done and everything you've put into this to make it what it is today. Happy birthday, McGranahan Barn.
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 Happy birthday, McGranahan Barn.